Good afternoon, namaste to Professor Jain, the faculty members, the student volunteers, and all the students in the audience. I can palpably feel the energy being very high, energy levels being very high. That itself gives me a good start, I would think. So, first of all, let me congratulate the university for organizing a student wellness week, and in which you're going to have also the launch of a readers circle, which has already been launched. It's, I think, a great step forward. It's one thing to have a wellness week. It's one thing to have great counseling. It's also one thing to say, no, we assist the students 24/7. But this one step of a readers circle, I think is just so good. I can't tell you how good I feel about it. In this era when everything is so digital and all of you all are absolutely smart in that digital use, to recall the importance of reading, to have a readers circle, and to say you're going to have a kind of a book club with which you're going to promote reading, get books and so on, is simply so fascinating, and especially in the context of wellness. So I won't go into the details of what the Wellness Week is going to do, what it's going to do to you, and so on. I'll divide my opening remarks into two large buckets. One, to say briefly, I'm not going to do a very big list of things, briefly, of what the government is doing for mental wellness of students. Because as a representative of the government, it's my duty to say that this government has taken this issue very seriously, and at least one or two major steps that have been taken, I will highlight, and I hope you'll allow me to do that. And the other is to talk about what wellness has been like for India, India's civilization, and India's civilization over the millennia, as to how it has handled it, and today where we are on it. And therefore, you're looking forward to hearing one very quick roundup of what the government is doing on wellness, and maybe a bit elaborately on addressing wellness, particularly mental wellness, in India's context. And after that, I have, meaning I've understood, I've also agreed, there will be an interaction where you can ask me questions. As much as I can, will certainly give you the answers. So, without really getting into the details of what you're doing here, I appreciate the week which is happening, Wellness Week. The steps that the government has taken is where I'll quickly rush to speak for. Union budget of 22-23, which is last year's budget, we had announced a Tele-Manas program, which is tele-mental health assistance and networking across states. That was launched on the World Mental Health Day last year, 10th October. It was announced in the budget, but it was launched on that day. And that was with an objective of improving access to quality mental health counseling and care services. A toll-free number was given, and 1,900 trained counselors spread across 44 functioning Tele-Manas cells And where are they? In 33 states, meaning union territories and states put together. And they are located there. The callers are heard on the toll-free number, whoever calls. The callers are heard. They are accepted for what they are saying. And then the whole thing is managed, all free of cost. And since then, these are things on which people don't come out very easily to speak, but obviously because it also requires an element of trust, and only when the trust is built do people come to speak. So I'm not wanting to take pride in saying this many number of people have used it, but never mind, you should know, more than 3 lakh calls have been entertained. Approximate number is about 1,300 calls per day are being attended to in 20 different Indian languages. So it is not just English or Hindi, it's 20 different languages. And broadly, the kind of subjects which are being talked, I'm not revealing anybody's name, but the kind of subjects that are being talked are about being sad, about sleep disturbance, about the stress one is undergoing, and also about the anxiety pangs. So these are the broad subjects which the caller exchanges with the person who's trained to receive that call. And then they are also given special cares that are linked to appropriate services, so they are gently moved on to those specialists who can later on handle them. Now, that National Tele-Mental Health Program did not stop with just this toll-free phone call. It has also got a district component where it provides support to states and union territories through the National Health Mission. It gives outpatient services, counseling, psychosocial intervention, continuing care and support to persons with severe mental disorders, drugs, outreach service, and many such. So that was a comprehensive announcement, inaugural and launch, which was done in the 22-23 budget. The mental health services are also now being covered under the Ayushman Bharat scheme. You know, 5 lakhs is given to a family so that without cash, without any paper to prove who they are, they can access medical facility from any empaneled hospital. It has a list of services for which they can get 5 lakh, up to 5 lakh worth in a year treatment. Mental health was not included in it initially. It got included, so even that comes under the Ayushman Bharat scheme, the Health and Wellness Center scheme. This is for general public. So anybody from the public can access the toll-free calls, anybody can use the Ayushman Bharat card and so on. Ministry of Education launched a Mano Darpan initiative to provide emotional support and counseling only for students. It's not for other citizens. It's only for students who are under distress, and this was started off immediately post-COVID, the first lockdown and so on. And it continues even today. That also has a national toll-free number. It also provides resource support for mental well-being. The national education policy, in order to make health holistic and flexible and multidisciplinary and skill-oriented, It's been a game changer. A lot of universities have realized that they can benefit from it. Of course, Banaras Hindu University already probably was running in fairly that kind of a model, but NEP has been easily subsumed. So the socio-emotional learning requirements are being addressed even through that policy. One of the objectives is also to have well-trained social workers and counselors so that they can carry forward the work. This year on 3rd October, only a few days ago, the Ministry of Education released a draft Ummeed guidelines. What is Ummeed? And it is spelt in English, UMMEED. Understand, motivate, manage, empathize, empower, and develop. This is going to be for enhancing sensitivity towards and support for students who may be at risk of self-harm. So it is a very, very finely focused approach to make sure that no student should be so fragile, and therefore to help them. We are, as a government, committed for quality healthcare, mental health care. In the budget, we've certainly given some improved budgetary provisions. Total allocation for mental health has increased from 713 crores, which was in 2021, to nearly 1,200 crores in 23-24, almost 70%. 70% increase in 3 years. Now, in addition, we've also announced that there shall be centers, 25 centers of excellence and 47 postgraduate departments for taking in students in PG departments in mental health. So 25 centers of health excellence and 47 postgraduate departments for taking students in for mental, and they are PG departments, in mental health specialities and also for tertiary level treatments. So we strongly believe that we need to have greater capacity built and people brought in for building this strength for India. You know, the Prime Minister has taken this initiative to take yoga globally. Why would I want to bring in just yoga out of a whole set of initiatives being taken by the government? Only because whether it is Ayurveda, whether it's yoga, from ancient India, even up to Sri Aurobindo, the emphasis which is given for Ayurvedic medicines and also for yoga have all been from the point of view that you need a holistic approach for dealing with it. Stress or mental, disturbance cannot be treated individually, symptomatically alone. You need a total picture for it. So, yoga, the very word, we pronounce it in English, yoga, yog, it all comes from the mental and physical balance. When I say balance, it's, I think, better in Indian language, particularly in Hindi, for instance, santulan. Unless you maintain that balance, your well-being is affected. And that is not just mental and physical, it also got an element of emotional. And I think lying dormant in young people, which comes out gradually as you grow up, is the spiritual balance as well. So it is mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. That's achieved through both Ayurveda and yoga. So that's where I would lay before you the government's initiatives in the recent past and the tradition that India has had in dealing with whole wellness holistically and not to deal with in separate parts. Now, with that, I've just finished my opening remarks. Maybe during the question, I was seeking the permission of your director, Professor Jain, if I'd be allowed to read some parts of one particular book, which I think has very important indications or implications for what we understand. I'll just lay the ground for it. Mental stress or any kind of stress, particularly at the level of being a student, in my understanding, comes from largely two factors. One is that maniacal competition. You're welcome to have competition. I'm not against it. A competition which is healthy, absolutely fine, and that's how it should be. But once it becomes a kind of a rat race of a competition, that can be the first trigger for stress. That is one thing. Second is the public opinion, which is expectations of people around us. Public opinion not in the sense of when you do a survey, who's going to win this election, who's your sports icon, not that. Public opinion from the point of view of expectations of your near and dear, and public expectation of society as a whole. This guy is a successful guy. Why? Because he's done 1, 2, 3 things. These two are the main contributors. If you don't have that santulan to handle it, these two are the main contributors for the stress. Now, if you don't have the santulan and therefore you can't handle it, it's not the end of the day. Santulan can be restored. But how do you restore it? And then can you manage this? And that is where your Saka is going to play a very important role. And Saka, of course, is a wonderful name. Before I start reading any of the parts from that book, wonderful name, because there's no English equivalent for it. It's not just a friend. It is not just a companion. It's not a mentor. It's not that guy or a girl who comes to help you that minute when you have a problem. It's beyond all that. And actually, I'll strongly recommend you should, within you, start understanding that when you have the urge and you find the right person who you would recognize as a Saka, like Draupadi recognizes Sri Krishna, every one of us would benefit to have a Saka somewhere. It can be an institutional Saka. It can be an institutional Saka as long as you're in the college. And after that, when you go out, a Saka in the family, or a Saka in the place where you get enrolled to work, or beyond all that, a Saka who you've noticed in the society with whom you start building a certain kind of contact, exchange of ideas, thoughts, a Saka there. It is a vital thing for keeping yourself well rooted that you need a Saka. With that said, I'll also say a mentor is a different person. A Saka to whom you can confide, a mentor with whom you may confide or you don't, but you draw a lot of ideas, guidance, and also that looking up to an individual for some limited purposes. It can be your career, it can be anything else. But a Saka doesn't expect anything from you. He can give you the comfort that if you confide something in her or in him, it is safe. It's not going to cross out of his mouth, cross his lips. It is kept inside, and it helps. You've had a very, very strong and very trustworthy person to whom you can pour out your concerns and get that comfort. So it is important. You should never be alone, but at the same time, to find a Saka is also not that simple. Don't trust anybody. and pour your heart out. Even that can work against you. So broadly, that's where it is. And as you ask me, if you want, I can elaborate through the book that I wanted to, some paragraphs which I want to read out on the issue of competition, and that too not just healthy competition when it becomes too much of a competition, stressful competition, rat race of a competition, and about how public expectation or public opinion continuously puts pressure on us, our parents, our peer groups. Hey, this guy has done better. What? Because he's earning tons of money. Is he leading a healthy life for himself and for his family? Not a concern. And then the question of this book reading. You can have books. You can have books in a library. But if the person who's running it or the persons who are dealing with it are not probably open-minded, you might end up reading the same books or books with the same line of thought. But as it is said, I'm saying it in English in the Rig Veda, that you must keep all the windows around you open. Let thoughts from outside come in through the window. And that's what you should be ready to receive. So that book reading center should have books of all kinds. It cannot be a selection of one single ideological thought. It should be everything in it. So, not expanding more, I leave it there. Interaction can happen. Thank you.
Thank you.